Okay guys, so I did a little practice here before I went into my final project for colored pencil because I'm going to do a portrait, a whimsical portrait. I wanted to do a little play around with some paper that I've actually not used before for colored pencil. This is my tried and true. I didn't do any demo on this. It's my 110-pound Spring Hill digital cardstock. I use this for both graphite and colored pencil, and Prismacolor markers I'll use on this as well, and also my alcohol-based alcohol ink Copic markers. This is like my go-to. I use it for everything and it works really well. Colored pencil is kind of important because, or the paper is kind of important for colored pencil because of the texture. You might be somebody who likes to see the strokes. I personally, most of the time I'm not, but sometimes I don't mind. It just depends on the aesthetic that I'm going for. But overall, I prefer a smooth finish. Now, I tried Strathmore Hot Press, and I did Prismacolor, Polychromo, and Arteza. There's too much texture in all of these for me. I'm not a super huge fan. I did finish all of them. I used a collection of colors here, and I'll put a little, I wrote the names of the colors that I used because you might like the color combo but not the texture, which is why I also did it on the smooth Bristol. I have never used the Bristol before, and I hear people say all the time that they love it. You know what? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because I felt like the paper didn't grab the color from the colored pencil. And as much as I talk about layers and stuff like all the time, which you still have to do with both of these and anything that I work with when I work with the colored pencils or watercolor or ink or whatever it is, but it felt like it took so much longer. So many more layers were required to just get some pigment on this paper. So not a fan of either this or this for colored pencil. Graphite might be perfect for this. I don't know. I'll have to play again later. But in the meantime, I also did the solvent, the Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner solvent that I put on this on the half of each one of these. And it did okay. It didn't really do a ton major blending. Let me try to get a little close here. Let me zoom in. It didn't do a massive amount of blending. You can see some of this, but you can still see the strokes. I mean, you can see it smooth a bit, but not a ton. And on this one, the same. It did a little bit more blending. It kind of just, and that might be why it's the surface of the paper. It could have been why it did this, but it kind of felt like it moved it didn't soften the lines. It just moved the pencil around. So yeah, it didn't really feel like it sunk in. It felt like it sat on top. So like you can see here that it smeared because it wasn't dry, and this stuff dries pretty quick, but it wasn't dry because I went like this to wipe off some dust, and it smeared. So it took, like, it shoved the pigment of the pencil to the edges, kind of just erased it. So didn't like that. And then this side I used on all three of these, or actually all six of them. On this side I used the Derwent blender. It kind of worked with the Arteza, not too bad, I guess. But I best out of the three, out of the Prismacolor, Polychromo, and the Arteza, I think the blender worked best on that. And then on this one, I hope I wasn't invisible through that. I might have been. And then this one I used the Derwent blender, and it didn't really do anything on any of these. It kind of smushed the lines, the pencil together a little bit, but I could still see a lot of texture. So not a fan. Now, I have worked with the Fabriano Hot Press watercolor paper with colored pencil. There is a little bit of texture, and I usually just do it when I usually do the color over the watercolor. So I'll watercolor first and then I'll add colored pencil on top. But I don't mind it because it's really minimal and it gives just a little bit. But that's one of the reasons I don't really like cold press so much, because for colored pencil, all those little bumps and grooves and stuff, it just catches and leaves the color on the surface of those bumps and grooves and doesn't get inside. I particularly don't dig that too much. It depends on the piece, of course, and what aesthetic I'm going for, but overall I work really clean and smooth for the most part. So that's my little 411 on those babies. Yeah, I'm gonna get going on the final product, and I will be using my, again, 110-pound Spring Hill digital cardstock, my tried and true. I love it so much, and I hope you guys have fun. This has been a great month. Please, 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 please Leave comments in below, or questions if you have any. Also, please remember to share your work and what you do and your final piece, your portrait piece, for or in Next Generation Art. Join us at Next Generation Art on Facebook and post your picture, your final piece there. Thank you so much. Also, if you guys have suggestions for anything in the future that you'd like to learn, I do a poll once a month on my page on Next Generation Art on Facebook, talking or asking people what it is that they'd like to do. I do it towards the end of the month so I can get ready for the next month. It's usually a 4-week process or slash study that I do for what's chosen in that poll for that month. Of course, anything can go further. There's so much information out there, but I do try to be as thorough as I can be. That's the teacher in me. I do try to be as thorough as I can be with the information. I can't possibly give you all the information in one fell swoop month, the 4 weeks, but I can definitely come back and we can do another full month work of study in any one of these fields. So if you have any suggestions, I've already done watercolor. I have now just about finished colored pencil, and it looks like the next one's going to be acrylic paint. So anyways, thank you guys so much for being here, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Take care. Bye. Okay guys, we're getting ready to start. I drew her out first. I used my Graph Gear 1000 0.3 mechanical pencil. My trusty, I can't remember who this is, but my trusty black eraser. It leaves no residue. I know it's the eraser dust. It doesn't really create that. Then I use my Tombow Mono Zero eraser and my blending stump. If you notice, I went in a little bit with my blending stump just to add a little depth in these areas. I will definitely go in with my colored pencil and do that as well, but I wanted to add a little bit of oomph. I also put some underneath my top eyelid and in the corner on both eyes. I will, and right there. I also will have some, this is just going to be another layer, but I'll have some under my eye to make my eye pop a little bit more. This is just another layer because I will be going in with colored pencil, and I'll do a little down here, not super dark, just kind of, it's a dirty blending stump, so I'm just using whatever's on the blending stump to create a little shadow. Wherever two things meet and overlap, this necklace is sitting on top, there will be a shadow cast. There'll be a little shadow cast because her head is in front of her hair, as it is on this side. I'm going really light, you guys. I'm not doing a heavy hand here. There'll be a little shadow cast by, I don't know if you guys can see it. It's very light. Just a suggestion. And some in the ear. And some in the bangs. But that's about it. I'm not going to do much more, because it will just become part of the piece. And I can't help myself because I love graphite. Love it, and I love a dirty blending stump. I can't help myself. And why should I? That's the beauty of your working as an artist in your own piece. A little bit there. Two things are overlapping. This is over the hair. This is over the other chopstick. This is also over the hair. So I have a little there. Same thing over here. I can't help myself. I see here that I have a little bit of lines to erase. A little bit there. And voila. So I'm gonna kind of do I'll speed up the video a little bit because this is gonna take me a while. At least 2 hours, if not longer, to do this in colored pencil. I suggest your first time out that you guys work in, this is a 5.5 by 9, I think. 5.5 by 9. smaller. Work smaller first time out if you've never done a color pencil portrait before. I will be using my trusty, here we go, my trusty Prismacolor pencils. Oh, look at all the skin tones. Look at all those delicious skin tones. And then these are going to be the pinks for the cheeks. And I also pulled these because, as you've heard me say before, I don't do just for average skin tones. This is one of my all-time favorites to use. These guys right here are some of my all-time favorites to use in skin tones for shadows. And for whatever reason, this chartreuse really makes the skin pop. I go in very lightly, of course. Talk about the layers, 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 layers. But anyways, and I think she's going to be a redhead. So that's why I have all of these colors in here, the reds and the oranges and stuff. She's going to be a fun redhead. So anyways, I'm going to get started. I've demonstrated before what kind of stroke work I use when I color. I do a combo of up and down and then a little swirl, little mini circles. The mini circles are to help if I get an edge on my pencil line. Let's see. If I get an edge on my pencil, let me do this. Let me see if I can make that edge happen. I'll use brown here. So I'm working lightly. Let me go in. I'm working lightly. Oh, did you see that? Also, I don't think I mentioned before, when you guys work with pencils, either colored pencils or graphite pencils, remember to spin your pencil. If you want to keep a point, remember to spin it every once in a while. Don't wait too long to get the point, to keep the point of your pencil. This is mainly, I mean, colored pencil it works for too. But I find that I don't really want a sharp point on my colored pencil because then it makes that line like that, and I really don't want that line. I don't want a darker line. I want to have consecutive and consistent strokes. So here's the edge, right there. So now, my pencils are rolling off my desk. Here's the edge. So now, oh, sorry. We're gonna come in with soft circles. And you see I've made that edge disappear. Now this just, I mean, if I was working in her face, I would, if I had some hard lines here, I would come in with my pencil and soften it, and then it would have an edge, like it would have a space that I filled in. This is just, whoops, this is just an open space. So this would pretend that, let's do this, pretend that there's my line. That's my cheek line. I'm going to come in. And I've softened that edge. I'm going to try to soften that line I just drew too, so it's not so harsh. There. Now they all blend. Now there's a blend there. It's not very, there's not edges. I don't have layers or ledges to my colored pencil. I'm going to do it up here too. I'm working in soft, small strokes, circular strokes, to get rid of this, to blend this edge out. And do not, I suggest, you want light layers, just light layers on top of light layers that will build up the color. Otherwise, I guarantee you'll have strokes. You'll see strokes, unless you're looking to see strokes. You don't want the strokes, you gotta work light. You gotta work in light layers. So, there's that. And now I'm gonna go with a little darker. Nope, that's the wrong pencil brand. There we go. I'm gonna go a little darker. And just add some shadow. Another layer. Super light because it is darker. You don't want to push really hard. I'm going to push really hard on this side. Okay, so I've created that edge now. I may or may not be able to get rid of this edge right here. I sort of did. Did my soft circular strokes, and then I'm going to come back in with this guy. They're still circular, they're a little bit bigger though. Now what I just did, I just proved to you that you can get rid of that hard edge, but if you're a novice and brand new to colored pencil, I suggest you work layers, soft layers to build up the color, because it's also something you can't really take away. Okay, now I'm going to finish this. Actually, let me do something else. Let's do, I'm going to show you guys how to, a little trick. Well, actually, no, I won't do it this time. Okay. I am a very practiced colored pencil artist, so I know the tricks and how hard to push and how hard not to push. And just like anything else, if you have a darker spot than the rest, the more color you lay over it, of course that spot's going to just get darker and darker and darker. So this is on my 110 pound cardstock. I like the way this skin texture looks. Let's use a little, where did my Derwent blender go? There it is. I'm going to use Derwent, and then I'm going to use Prismacolor. And see, these are Prismacolors that I'm working with. So I'm going to use this. I'm doing the circular strokes. They're bigger, but they're still circular. Kind of hard to tell, huh? Okay, so that's Derwent. Let's write that. Derwent blender. And here's my Prismacolor blender. They are almost identical, except I think I like the Prismacolor better. Go figure. I use Prismacolor pencils, so the Prismacolor colorless blender works better. Just a smidge. They're pretty close, but I actually can still see a little bit of pencil strokes in this one, where these are almost gone in the Prismacolor blender. Okay, and you don't have to do that at all, because I still really like the way it looks without it at all. Totally. I don't really need to do that. I was just wanted to show you guys what they look like, but they're pretty close. The Derwent though still shows a little bit of texture, where the Prisma, nice and smooth, baby. So thank you. I'm gonna start coloring in a few minutes, and I hope you enjoy the video. so here I'm going to, I laid down a base coat of light orange, or just orange, really softly, and I am going to now kind of show you how to do some highlights in the hair. So you always work in colors of 3, at least colors of 3. So I have a light, medium, and a dark that I'm going to work with, which is orange, poppy, and cadmium or crimson red. Okay, so I've already laid the orange down, and now I'm going to work with poppy red. And anytime there is a curve, like in her buns, on her bangs, and here on the bump in the back, there's going to be a highlight. So okay, so if I have the bump, the one end of the bump that's tucked in, not this part, and then this other half of the bump, meaning this part right here and this part right here, the center part is going to stay light because that part goes like this. It goes up and off the page if it was somebody's bangs, real bangs in their hair or their face, sitting on their face. So it goes up, and the part that's tucked in at the top and the part that's down here at the bottom will have less light than this part right here. So these will be darker. And once I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to zoom back in. No word out. Zoom back in. And I'm going to come in and try to follow. Now I drew my hair in segments because I knew that I was going to do light, medium, dark. And I'm going to, you notice I'm kind of doing strokes. I'm not looking for super refined hair because this is a whimsical piece. But I am looking for the sheen. I've already laid down my orange color, my regular orange, just a plain old orange. And now I'm working with poppy red. Like I said before, work with at least 3 tones, a light, medium, and a dark. And the part that gets the sheen or isn't getting any color is that middle part, the part between here and here. This is the bump in the bang, and it will catch most of the light. And again, I repeat, and I'll probably say for the rest of forever and a day, that anytime 2 things overlap, there will be a shadow cast. It's kind of fun because you get to start thinking about things in a different way. Things that you kind of just take for granted. Now I separated these 2 with a stroke, and I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm going to, this isn't a rushed process. If you want it to look great, you got to take your time and put the work in. I should say not look right, but get the look that you're looking for. You got to put your work in. Got to put the time in. Now this strand, boop, this is kind of tucked up. Oh, you can't see it anymore. This strand right here, this one is tucked up behind the ear. The ear is sitting on top of it, so it will cast a shadow. And this side as well. This side as well. And then this goes up. This actually dips in a little. I'm going to bring that down some. This part is the bump, so I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to have some down here at the tip. Okay, and then I'm just going to repeat. I'm going to come back in, work on this section now. They're going to be smaller because the area is not as wide as the bangs were. Kind of little baby strokes. Slow and steady wins the race. And it's amazing how just 2 colors and it's already starting to come to life. It's starting to wake up and get a little dimension about it. Some 3D happening here. Now the chopstick is sitting on top So it will be darker there. And here. Okay. Make my tables crooked because my pencils keep rolling. And, sorry, a little quiet there because I get into what I'm doing. Okay, and now I'm going to come in, ow, and I'm going to cut my hand. The one thing with colored pencil is because you're so focused, your hand starts to cramp a little. And it's worth it. Now this one's darker. And I probably will go in with, let's see, I used it, yeah, this one. I'll probably go in also with, I don't know how to say, Poupre Foncé? Poupre Foncé, I'm not sure. I'll go in a little bit more heavy-handed, and I want to see the strokes more. I want it to mimic hair some. The other ones were just base coats, basically. Base coats. Yeah, I like to see the hair, as you know. Hair is one of my favorite things to do. It takes a while though. And you see what I've done so far real time, and I'm still in the base. It takes some time. I've been working on these for almost 8 minutes now. But I dig it, and it's totally worth it to me. That's what you have to decide, right? Is it worth it to you? Is it worth the time that you're willing to put in? If not, then you don't have to do these strokes. You could do just one color and be done. Look just as good. It's your preference, your style. You're stylizing it at this point. But do you see, by leaving, I like to add the darker on top just in strokes, like hair strokes, because it really helps that the sheen, the orange, the first color I laid down, pop out and make it look like it's got some depth. I mean, you don't have to, but I think it just, in my style and what appeals to my eye, my artistic eye, I like to see those because I think it helps pop out that, the effect I'm trying to make. Make it look more 3D. Now I'm going in with this darker color. Now notice I'm also not filling in as much as I did before. A choice by me. Okay, so now I'm going to come back with that red. And go from there. Alright, so now I'm going to fast forward the video until I find something else. I might not need anything else to talk about, and we'll see. But for now, I'm going to go color some more.